All right, let's break down a pitch for a new AI workstation, the Olares One. Is it the real deal?
If you're into AI, you know the struggle. Expensive cloud AI or tricky local setups. So what's a dev to do?
Yeah, you're either paying a fortune for cloud access, or you're stuck with a local rig that just throttles.
But what if there's another way? That's the whole pitch for the Olares One.
First up, it's packing an NVIDIA RTX 5090 mobile. We're talking 24 gigs of GDDR7 VRAM. Then you've got a massive 96 gigs of DDR5 system RAM, perfect for those complex workflows.
And the engine? An Intel Ultra 9 CPU, and it's rocking 24 cores.
Plus, it boosts all the way up to a crazy 5.4 gigahertz. Speed won't be an issue.
So the whole idea here is a super powerful but compact AI workstation right on your desk.
Olares is calling it the world's fastest AI desktop. Okay, big words. Let's see the proof. Okay, check this out. An image gen took just 10 seconds. The Mac, 70 seconds. Whoa.
And here's the chart to prove it. Benchmarks show it's 2 to 7 times faster. That's a huge gap. But hardware is only half the story, right? The secret sauce might actually be its operating system. It's an open source system built for privacy with over 200 one-click AI apps. Total local control. And what about the cost? Well, Olares says you can save over 96% compared to the cloud. Okay, but how does it really stack up against the competition? Now, this is where it gets interesting. But look, the price tag changes everything, and when you buy, makes a huge difference. At the Kickstarter price, it looks like a pretty good deal, but at the full $4,000 MSRP,
So, who should jump on that early price? Devs who want a plug-and-play, compact system right now.
But at $4,000, yeah, the math changes. Suddenly, a custom build looks a lot better. So, is this the future of local AI, or just another Kickstarter dream? It's a great pitch, but we'll see.
You know, every once in a while, a new piece of tech pops up with claims so bold, they just make you stop and go, wait, what? Well, today we're looking at one of those. It's a little machine called the Olares One, and it's making some huge promises about putting serious AI power right on your desktop. So let's get into it and see if the reality can possibly live up to the hype. So this is their big pitch, right on the box, your local desktop AI powerhouse. And those words are chosen very carefully. Not just a computer, an AI powerhouse. And not somewhere up in the cloud, but local, right there with you. That simple phrase, it sets an incredibly high bar for what this thing is supposed to do. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about a product that started on Kickstarter, trying to go toe-to-toe with the biggest names in the game. It's the classic David versus Goliath story, but for the AI generation. So, does this little box actually stand a chance? Let's find out. Okay, to figure out if the Olares One has a real shot, first things first, we gotta pop the hood. And I have to say, the specs they've packed into this thing are, well, they're seriously impressive. Just take a look at this list. You've got NVIDIA's absolute top-of-the-line mobile GPU with a massive 24 gigs of video RAM, a brand new 24-core Intel CPU, and a frankly insane 96 gigs of system RAM. On paper, this isn't just a challenger. This is a heavyweight champion, and it's all squeezed into this tiny little box. So, specs are just numbers on a page, right? What does all that horsepower actually get you? This is where Olares makes its most dramatic claims. They're promising not just raw speed, but a totally different way to work with AI. And wow, this comparison really throws down the gauntlet. According to their own tests, generating an image takes just 10 seconds on the Olares One. That exact same task on a maxed-out Mac Studio with the M3 Ultra chip, a full 70 seconds. That is a gigantic difference. Yeah, 7 times faster for that specific task. And they're claiming similar performance boosts, anywhere from 2 to 7 times faster across a whole bunch of different AI models. If you actually work in this field, that's not just a small improvement. That could completely change your entire workflow. But it's not just about speed, which is already pretty wild. The whole promise is bigger. Since everything happens on the machine, you get total data privacy. Nothing goes to the cloud. It's also supposed to ship with its own open-source OS and over 200 one-click AI apps, so it's a whole ecosystem ready to go. And to top it all off, they say it's whisper quiet. Okay, so it's powerful, it's private, it's packed with features, but here's the part that makes everyone do a double take, the price. Because usually, that kind of power comes with a cost that is, let's say, sky high. So the way Olares is pitching this is all about renting versus owning your AI. They figure if you're subscribing to all the typical cloud-based AI tools, you could easily be spending over $500 a month. Their math, based on a small team using the Olares One over 3 years, gets that cost down to just over $22 a month.
Yeah, you heard that right. A potential savings of 96%. It's a massive claim, but it gets to the heart of what they're trying to sell. A shift away from those endless, expensive cloud subscriptions to a single hardware purchase.
Which brings us to the big one. After hearing all that, the specs, the speed, the savings, you're probably bracing for a price tag with a whole lot of zeros.
And there it is. For the early birds on Kickstarter, the price was just under $2,800. Now, when you think about the fact that the desktop version of that graphics card alone could cost nearly that much, this price doesn't just look good, it looks like an unbelievable steal. But you know how this goes. There's always a catch. All right, time for the reality check. This is where we need to take a step back from the hype, because that amazing price, it isn't the whole story. There are some really important details we need to dig into here.
First thing you gotta know, that incredible price was temporary. It started around $2,800 for the super early backers, then it climbed to about $3,000, and the final retail price is set to be nearly $4,000. That is a huge jump.
And this table just lays it all out crystal clear. At that early Kickstarter price, yeah, it's a great deal, 4 stars, good value. But at the final $4,000 price, that rating drops to 2 stars, questionable value. Suddenly, the whole thing gets a lot murkier.
So why the big drop? Because at $4,000, the Olares One isn't just up against Mac Studios anymore. Now it's the exact same price as NVIDIA's own DGX Spark, which is a purpose-built, enterprise-level AI machine. It's playing in a whole different league.
And that's not all. There are other really important catches. First, it's a Kickstarter project, and delivery isn't even scheduled until February of 2026. That is a long time to wait, and there's always a risk with crowdfunding. Second, it's using a mobile GPU, which is going to be about 15 to 20% less powerful than the full desktop version. And finally, because of that custom design, you can't really upgrade it down the road. At that final retail price, you could probably build your own PC that's more powerful or at least more flexible.
So, when you put it all together, the insane promise on one side and the very real risks and fine print on the other, what's the verdict? Who is this machine actually for?
Well, it really breaks down into 2 different people. Look, if you're one of those early backers who snagged it for under $3,000, that is a fantastic deal if you're an AI pro who wants a compact, ready-to-go system and you're cool with the risks of Kickstarter. But if you're looking at this thing at its full $4,000 price tag, that is a much, much tougher decision. It really only makes sense if you care more about the all-in-one software and the timed design than anything else.
So in the end, the Olares One is really a tale of 2 prices. For the early birds, it looks like a potential game changer, but for everyone else, at that final retail price, it becomes a very niche product in an already crowded field.
And this whole thing points to a much bigger question, doesn't it? We're watching AI move out of these giant, faraway data centers and onto the desks right in front of us. And the race is on to build the hardware that's going to power that shift. So who's going to win? Will it be the crowd-funded upstarts like this one, or will the big giants like Apple and NVIDIA adapt and dominate? Well, that's the future we're all about to watch unfold.